on our road to Scream 6. We're back at it, going through the Scream franchise. We've hit the first two, and now we're ready for the quote-unquote trilogy.
Scream 3.
Scream 3 came out in 2000. Came out 3 years after the Scream 2. So you'd think they'd have a little bit more time to make a better movie than this turned out to be. But it's still a fun movie.
Mm-hmm.
But before we get too into that, we have a returning guest.
Our first.
Yeah, Avery, who was our guest on the most recent podcast, talking about Skinnamarink-a-dink-a-dink. Welcome back.
Hi, guys.
We're bringing Avery back because she, as far as I understand, she's great. And Scream 3 is her favorite movie.
Well,
it was.
You really got to put me on blast like that, Jace.
It was until we started the recording.
I'm so happy to be back here, you guys.
Yeah. Well, we're happy to have you. So to start off Scream 3, I think I have to first say Courtney Cox's haircut in this movie is the worst haircut that has ever been worn by a human being in history.
It's a crime against humanity.
Okay, I wasn't sure if that was a hot take or just common sense. But...
No, that's not a hot take. If that's a hot take, then I'm here with you. I got the same hot take.
Avery?
Okay, so at first, I was like, hold up. This is a trendy haircut right now, you guys.
What?
Like, super tight, short bangs. But the longer I looked, so that was my first impression, right? I was like, no, this is super cute. Like, I have some friends. They're super granola, maybe is the right word. They just have a high, tight bang. It looks really punk, I think is a better word for it.
I see what you're talking about.
But then the closer I looked as the movie played on, it looked like she hacked up her bangs with scissors before literally stepping on set. Like, they're so jacked up and crooked.
Yes.
And, like, nothing is intentional about it, that I was like, okay, this is not, it's not cute. It's bad.
I just didn't even know if they were long enough to qualify to be bangs.
Some of them shot straight forward.
Yeah,
like,
they're that short.
They were horizontal, and then it was like a poof, like a bird hairstyle almost.
It's literally the worst haircut anyone's ever had, and that includes like Will from Stranger Things, because I think that guy gets some of the worst haircuts in the history of humanity.
Poor Will.
He does. Every season it gets worse, and now I do think no one will ever dethrone Courtney Cox. I think this is the worst. And the worst part about it, I think, is that it was David Arquette's idea. He told her to do it because he thought it was going to be a cute look. That's the problem. Right at that, they should have known it wasn't going to work out after that, because that was like right when they got married.
Who was letting him call shots on her look? Like, what?
That is exactly why when I tell my wife that she looks cute, she needs a second opinion.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you can't trust us.
No.
To know exactly what you're dressing for. So, sorry, David Arquette.
And also, unconditional love. Yeah, it was unconditional love. Like,
yeah. But what occasion would those bangs ever be needed for? They
psych ward?
Yeah. That looks like exactly like she's been locked. I will say Courtney Cox still beautiful, though. She still is hot.
You know, as we've talked about, this is my first time watching all of these movies.
Mm-hmm.
The dramatic swing that Courtney Cox's haircuts take in between movies.
It's intense.
I feel like I'm missing something. Like there's major life events that I'm missing in between these movies that justify these haircuts.
Yeah, I kind of feel like she's having like these bangs are the result of like a mental breakdown, like Hannah in Girls when she's like dealing with her OCD and cuts her hair all insane.
Oh, it totally is. She realizes like her whole life's work chasing the like original stab. She's just like, I can't do this anymore.
She's just given up. I will say the new ones, the next 3, it looks like she has the same haircut in all 3. So
there's some consistency.
It's just normal Courtney Cox hair from now on, from 4 out. So, yeah.
And then since we brought up David Arquette, he also is really swinging, not just in the hairstyle, but just overall everything. Like, he gets stabbed in the first one. He has a limp and a crow wing arm in the second one. And then in the third one, he has his hair slicked back. He has the Robert Downey Jr. stash. And then his limp and crow arm just really pop in and out throughout the movie. There's not really any consistency.
I noticed it's only when he's like full form, like when he's like sprinting, he's like in the heat. Then it's like it's all coming out. But otherwise, when he's just like walking through town, I'm like,
yeah, it's like totally fine. I feel like maybe that's just. Is that supposedly the weird symptoms he has after the stabbing? I mean, he did get really skewered in Stab 2, so.
He did.
I mean, also +1 for Dewey that he doesn't get stabbed in this movie, because that was a pretty consistent theme in the first 2.
I was glad to see him finally have a weapon, because I felt like all of Scream 2 is exhausting because he throws his body at every moment of fear and has no weapon. He's not armed ever.
Avery, are you serious?
What?
Dewey is a full-on cop. Since the first week, he has a gun.
He doesn't carry it like ever.
He just doesn't pull it out.
Oh my god!
I just watched these. He has a gun. He just doesn't use
it until
the third movie. He's not even an actual cop in the second one.
No, he's like retired. He's like out of force.
No, he's unemployed. But he still has a gun.
Looking for Sidney for years.
He's lusting for Sidney the whole second movie.
Yeah, he's been walking around looking for her.
That's what I was thinking. I was like, is he in love with Sidney? Anyways, so the third movie, regardless of what we think of it, it did great. It had I think it was maybe the most successful of the three, or just at the same. It has the highest budget for sure. So it was successful. This one, though, Renee, you were telling me this is the first one without the original writer, Kevin Williamson. Mm-hmm. And that was very apparent to me watching this movie.
Yeah, Ehren Kruger wrote this one, which he was brought in because Kevin Williamson was busy with, I don't know if it was Dawson's Creek or some other thing, and he was directing a movie, apparently. I don't know any about this. But the studio, because of Columbine, that happened like right as they were like going into production. So the studio was like, we want this to be more comedy, no blood, no gore, no darkness. And so like Wes Craven had to like fight them to get some blood in there. But the original script that they did, they ended up throwing out all the outline that Kevin Williamson had because it was too fucked up or too dark or something. And it also involved high school kids. So Wes Craven had to rewrite a lot of Ehren Kruger's script because the characters were so not how they'd been in the first two movies. So I think he did, and that's why he probably brought it back to the first movie so much, was because like I'm sure it was really like it was just, it sounds like it's funny how meta it is because like they talk about Stab 3 being like the script's changing every day. How am I supposed to learn my fucking lines? It's like that's the shit that was happening on Scream 3. Like they were like writing scenes as they go and changing it all the time. So it's like funny that they're like now at that level of meta that they're making fun of the movie that they are literally making all like right then. It's funny.
I love that.
I kind of feel like they filmed the Jamie Kennedy, his video to talk about the trilogy. And then when they did all the rewrites, they're like, you know what? Let's just use Jamie Kennedy's logic and let's just tie everything back. But then there's no rules. Let's just do that. Because I feel like this movie tried to replicate like classic stuff from the first scene, like the bathroom scene from the first movie.
Mm-hmm. Running up the stairs.
Yeah. But like there wasn't anything new on top of it. You know, it was like microwaving coffee. It's just
yeah. They didn't like push anything new style of kill. I did notice that I feel like this is the first time we saw a not ghost face like scare scene though, with the haunting of the mom.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
And the first one to introduce ghosts.
Yeah.
Like spiritual things that like visions, I guess, that Sidney's having or dreams. And so that was kind of weird. Like
like hallucinations almost.
Yeah, like it's like that was just a new element and something that they hadn't done before. And I don't really care about all that stuff. I don't mind the whole story wrapping back to the mom, but I just feel like this movie would be more bothersome to me, I think, if I didn't enjoy the cast so much. Because all the new people I really enjoyed. Like I love Parker Posey in this movie. She's fucking hilarious.
Yeah.
Which one is she?
She's the one who plays Gale in the movie, like the actress.
She's the casted Gale.
Yeah.
She was going full Toni Collette. She was given 120% the entire movie.
Funny though. I just like I loved her the whole time.
My favorite moment of hers was when right after I think the second killing happened, she's like, "I'm next," and then she jumps up into Joe Swanson's arms.
Yeah.
That was pretty cute. There's like random funny, like there's just so much funny moments in this movie. I feel like it just helps you kind of get over it.
There's a lot of funny moments. This movie is hilarious, and I can't figure out whether it's intentional or not.
I think so. It feels intentional.
I don't know. When Dewey sees Sidney at the police station, that was one of the funniest things I've ever seen in my life.
The like weird double take.
He looks over and sees her, then looks away, pauses, then looks back like it's the first time he saw her. Like it's not a
so
double
dramatic.
Take.
Wait.
Just go back and watch it on YouTube. I know that I don't like Dewey.
Yeah, I was going to ask you. I'm going to ask you every episode if you've come around on Dewey yet and what your opinion is, because like Avery, I think we can both agree like Dewey's amazing.
He is such an iconic part of like the campiness of these movies for me.
Yeah.
Like he is the clown that is at every circus, like coming out and making everyone laugh after they just saw the like super sad story be told.
Yeah. Right.
And I will never not love him. And his undying love / I don't know, we can talk about if we think he's creepy or not, but like still just rooting for him even on the third one. I'm like, he just loves Sid so much.
The limp makes him more sympathetic.
Except the way he proposed to Gale was probably the most offensive thing I've ever seen.
I know. I'd be kind of mad. Like, you cut open my fucking book. Okay.
Well, I mean, she got paid for it either way, so that's what she cares about. This movie, a positive in Dewey. It's the only one that I'm like, Dewey, I actually like him more in this. I think it's mainly because he's actually used as a comedic character.
Yeah, he's like him and Gale are the main characters of the movie too. Like Sidney really takes
so
the
much of it. Yeah,
it's their movie.
I was thinking, I was like, is Neve Campbell like part-time in this movie?
Yeah,
she's barely in it.
She was filming Party of Five at the same time, so she was flying back and forth to the different sets every week from like LA to like I think wherever they filmed this, Northern California, somewhere, I don't know.
Well, imagine doing the third of a movie at that point, like not knowing the future of Scream. It's like how much screen time is the main character from the original horror getting in the third one? It's always just like they're famous now, like they're doing bigger things.
Exactly. Like is she moving on from like when is the story really gonna move away from Sidney? Which is always an interesting thing because this is the only like horror series I can think of where like the three leads are in every single movie until the newest one. That's the first one that won't have Sidney in it because they didn't pay her enough to come back, which is like crazy.
It helps when the story is the same thing every movie.
It's not the same thing. It's always a different reason. I will give you that. I mean, they always want to kill Sidney.
It's a different murder. Like the first Scream is essentially, the first, but then the second Scream is a movie based off the first Scream.
Yeah.
This one, they just skips stab 2 and just jump straight
stab
to
3.
Stab 3.
Yeah.
So I always thought that was kind of weird.
It is weird because I would have liked to see some acknowledgement of Randy and like that whole thing. Because like I know we get the one scene, which in that scene when you meet Randy's sister and like Gale's like, that's Randy's sister. And the way Dewey just says, yeah, can't you tell? And I was like, what is that supposed to mean? Does it mean that she's ugly? That's what Nolan said. He's like, yeah, that means like she got a fucking ugly ass mug. I was like, what? That's like the rudest thing, Dewey.
So, yeah, overall, this movie was the only movie that was actually a net positive for Dewey in my mind.
Finally. I was going to ask you when you were going to finally come around to the dark side.
I think
Dewey's a national treasure.
I think it's because he was actually comedic,
Yeah.
That's wasn't
David Arquette's strong suit.
He wasn't just bad at his job.
I mean, he was, but yeah, like endearingly.
Yeah.
Everybody just played the actual funny role that he had played that whole time. So I feel like he got to shine a little bit more, Like we got to see his soft side as well as his normal Dewey side.
And we got to see some of his skills. Like he is actually a pretty good shot.
Can actually fire a gun.
I was very impressed.
Where's that gun?
He hit the killer like 5 times square in the chest. That's pretty good grouping. And then he tripped and fell down the hill.
Over his own foot. And while he was standing still, I'd like to add. But yeah. And then as they do that, they like see the body and then they look away for some reason. And then they look back and, the body's gone. Of course.
It's
How
gone.
does that work?
Poof.
They lose him like 5 times when the killer does that in this movie. And it's like, I feel like that always happens at least once. But this movie, like, it was like comedic timing with that shit, and Dewey, I think, just works better as a character when he's allowed to shine and just be his doofy self.
Yeah. Well, and then along those lines, the killer like disappearing and then like showing up, it always seemed to work when the reveal was that there was 2 killers, and then in this one they go with the long lost brother storyline.
Yeah,
which
it seems like such a reach.
It's too much of a reach because it changes everything that we knew about the first one, which that's a good point because I wanted to ask you about it. This movie's a lot different than the other Scream reveals, I think, for Ghostface, but one of the other ones was like the rules that Randy gives for like the trilogy of horror. I'm like, I don't know that many horrors that are trilogies. Do you? Mm-hmm. Like most of them just have unending sequels. There's very few like trilogies. And I know he talks about like, The Godfather and Star Wars, but I'm like, other than that, what is there?
I was going to say, based off Randy's own rules, a planned trilogy is different than
just another sequel.
Just a. So like a planned trilogy, I can't think of anything because like The Conjuring, there's 3, but
there's going to be another one already. Like, they're just doing that as they go. I don't think that's like we plan to just do 3 or like Insidious. Maybe they did, but then they're like, now we're on 5.
Yeah,
we're doing another one. It's like,
stop.
Oh shit, yeah, like Annabelle. Those 3 of those, but I have a really strong feeling that they weren't fucking planned. Like, I can't think of a lot of horror trilogies.
I don't. Usually, if there's like a planned trilogy, there's a lot of budget behind the first one, like Lord of the Rings.
Exactly.
All those were like $100 million budget.
And like, there's big movies like that, but not a lot of horror trilogies.
Yeah.
That's the
what about? I mean, it's yet to be released, but do you think that Pearl, ex-Pearl, and
Maxine,
that is a planned trilogy because maybe not planned, but
I don't know. Like, did he have Maxine in mind when?
Maybe they decided when after X was done, they decided Pearl and Maxine are the next ones.
Yeah, he might have wrote Pearl in mind with Maxine.
Yeah, so. I feel like most of the horror trilogies, if they are there, it's by accident. Yeah. It's not like it's like, oh, we just ran out of ideas and budget and no one wanted to pay for it. The audience just wasn't there. It's like, I mean, even Paranormal Activity. Yeah, they did 3, but then now they're on like 6. And I'm like, are you
so
kidding
many?
Me?
There's
Why
a lot
do
of
we
those.
need? I got everything I needed out of the first one.
So, but back on Scream.
Yes.
So,
horror trilogies and the killer reveal. That's what makes this different because it's got a weird reveal that has nothing to do with the rest of the series.
Well, and speaking of the reveal, I know that you, Renee, thought that the first time you saw it, which who knows how accurate that is, thought it was Patrick Dempsey based off the number of times you've seen it. I'm just saying.
He looks like a fucking serial killer in most of the scenes. He's sexy, but like Ted Bundy, creepy sexy.
Yeah.
You know?
Avery, can you think of the first time you saw Scream 3? Did you have an idea of who you thought the killer or killers were? Because I thought there was 2.
Well, when this movie came out, I was 5 years old. So
you had a lot of justification for
Dewey.
For your
no, I'm just kidding. I don't remember watching this movie for the first time. I'm sure it was in my like early onset love for all the Scream movies, which was probably like junior high school. And I remember thinking that the woman who was casted as Gale, Parker Posey, it's something funny, yeah?
Yeah, Parker Posey.
She just seemed suspicious to me from the get-go because she was like dating Dewey. I'm like, that's a little close to home. And she's like suddenly infiltrating and we've never seen her before.
Yeah.
Like, trust issues.
Plus she's insane.
Yeah.
And it was Billy's mom in the second one. So I was like, we can't rule out the woman. She's coming for the stab too.
I do always like kind of secretly now, ever since Scream 2, I always root for a female Ghostface, at least for one of them, because I just like that. Because I think, honestly, I kind of feel like there's got to be a female somewhere doing the plans for all this shit. I feel like a lot of the guy, like Billy, I guess, because he's a serial killer, just from looking at him, you could tell that guy's probably organized with this shit.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, like if it was like Stu and another guy, it's like they would fucking get caught on day one.
So fast.
Yeah, like you kind of need there always was, you need a smart one,
like a mastermind,
and you need a partner to sell out in case you get caught, and someone who's just like kind of the dumber one to do a lot of the shit and do because someone else has to be like on the phone usually with the people, which this movie does, but not to like, I wasn't really stressed out for anyone on the phone. Like, there's no really good phone calls in this one.
No, and that's my favorite part of the first ones. The like voyeurism, someone's watching you. They see
Yeah.
you what they're like, where are you making popcorn? And you're just like, oh,
Like, oh, that movie you're watching.
so
like, what?
icky. Yeah.
Yeah, it's creepy. And I think we should talk about maybe the opening scene because I think that's always what I look forward to in a Scream movie. Like the first opening scene, that's a really big tell of like how the movie's going to be.
Yes, we have to talk about the opening scene. One thing though, my biggest like red flag in this movie is the voice changer. And the voice changer is a big part of the opening scene. And it's just that technology does not exist in 2000. Like,
or readily available for some serial killer to just pick up and use.
Voice recorders are barely readily available. Like to record and then just clone that to say anything you want in a single device. Like, I hope the future movies have time travel where someone comes back and gives that guy the device, because it just doesn't make any sense.
Well, and in the context of this specific Scream, I feel like it's so silly because it ends up being the guy that's working on the movie. So are you telling me that he, like, how did he get Sidney's mom's voice? Like, was he going back in her movies because she was an actress and, like, pulling pulling voice AI, converting out of that? Like
exactly. Or was he just recording it from, like, did he have this technology, like, 5 years ago when the first murders, because his was like a year before that. Like, was he recording the mom when he fucking met her at the front door? Like he says, he showed up on her doorstep. Like, how long has this guy had this technology? I mean, Jesus.
He's playing the movie and then has a tape recorder for the audio. Then he's converting that tape recorder into an MP to an MP3 and then uploading it into an AI engine in 2000. And then it's
putting it on some weird silver disc that has all these big buttons, which is just like hilarious.
So we all can agree that like the third movie basically ruins the voice changing element of.
They really stole it from the future movies.
Yeah. Well, because in the first two, it's so spooky. Like, it's like, Sidney. Like, that shit is so scary. But then all of a sudden, we're doing other people's voices. That's like a layer we didn't need.
That would be the perfect plot device for a movie this year or next year.
Yeah.
But like in 2000, no, get out of here.
No. Like, they already did it. Yeah. And it doesn't add anything to the story. It just makes you have more questions about things. And like, I just love that I just feel like from here on out, like Scream 4 and 5, no reference at all to these, like the stab movies. Yeah. But not anything to like Scream 3. Nobody ever talks about that technology. It goes right back to everyone using the Ghostface voice. I think in one of the newer ones, they say, like,
bad move.
You don't have the Ghostface app on your phone, so you can't talk like Ghostface. And I'm like,
they hold the thing up. Yeah.
Yeah. Then I was like, that's cool. I like that because that actually fits because it's like, you know, not
with time.
They filmed this in 1999. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Like,
and it's
no
just
way.
Like the entire plot is so dependent on that voice cloning device. And it's just like, okay.
Oh my God. Like every scene with Sidney, it's like Sidney's mom's voice just starts playing from somewhere for her.
I can't tell what stuff he's actually doing by the end of it and like what stuff she's like hallucinating. And I'm like, is he drugging her and making her hallucinate this shit? Like, why is she all of a sudden dreaming about her mom?
Well, they definitely wrote it to have two killers because
100%.
It would not make sense during that whole like house chase scene where he's chasing her and then there's a body lying there with the cover and then it's talking to her and then it gets up and it's like, no, that doesn't work. So
I was curious, who do you guys think the other killer is? Because I know who it was, and like they're still really suspicious in the movie. But I was curious if you guys had an idea.
You mean the original killer?
Like, there's someone that they like literally changed the ending at the last minute, but like all of their scenes in the movie like support the fact that they're the killer.
Okay, so Avery, watching this for the first time as a 33-year-old, I was totally thinking that Patrick Dempsey was the killer, and the reason was the mother was the killer in the last one. And then in this one, they do the whole plot line around the mom.
Yeah.
And he had an affair with the mom. And then it's like, I killed her. I was like, Patrick Dempsey and Billy have very similar hair. That was my entire through line.
He just thought it was Billy's dad.
Same vibe.
And then I thought maybe the director would be the second person, mainly because in the second movie, the killer reveal of Timothy Oliphant, like he was in 20% of the movie.
Literally like nothing.
And then the director, same thing. 20% of the movie.
True. Yeah, he's very background.
That's why that reveal, I'm just like, I feel nothing about this.
I feel like
he's like not
really
important to the movie.
I feel nothing.
I didn't care about Roman, and so like when he was the surprise, I was like, oh, I mean, I guess I'm surprised, but like I don't care. Like, but yeah, who did you think, Avery? If you were to guess, who's the second killer? Are you saying Patrick Dempsey, Jace?
Yes. So my original thought was Patrick Dempsey and director for no reason other than he's barely in the movie.
You think that's like what they originally planned?
That would be my guess.
Yeah. Okay.
I would definitely say Patrick Dempsey. He has, like you said, he has the look, and I feel like you guys talked about it in your first 2 episodes. They just do the slow pan. It's like the guy with the lurky low brow and like
the suspicious man.
Yeah, like they just kind of imply it because I think they want you to think it's him.
The creepy looking one, you're always like just the creepy vibe or like the way he's like smiles. I'm like, yeah, no, that guy. So really funny because that was not the original plan. It was a girl. And it was Angeline, the one who plays Sydney in the movie, the actress.
Oh, see, there's two. They just sprinkled all those new people in. It was too easy.
She's in the bathroom and she's wearing like the Ghostface boots and she has the outfit.
Yeah.
Like they literally had a scene filmed where like she does the same thing and dresses up as Ghostface.
Well, she drops it out of her bag too, right?
Yeah. And then that's why she leaves her comb there so that like Sydney grabs it and comes out to the set, and then that's where like they have that whole thing. So she's because also like if without her, like Roman's just teleporting all over the place. Like, there's just no way, and it's just really weird. Like, why would his advice be for all the other killers? Like, yeah, always have a partner. Oh wait, I guess I don't need one. Like, what the fuck?
And she gives off big like stalker energy. Like when she meets Sydney, weird. She's super like, oh, I love you, and Sydney's like, I do not know you. Like this is a lot.
Like, it would have been really obvious too. I just feel like they get away from that, I think, in the next 2 movies a bit more. And like as they get newer, I feel like they make it it's more hard because we know the rules of all the movies now. So like by the time they get to the newer ones, they're like, we can't make it that obvious. Because I feel like at least in the first couple, you can at least identify at least one Ghostface. Always, right? Yeah. I don't think that's always true, but I think that's definitely true of the first 3.
Yeah.
Okay, well then should we talk about the opening now?
The opening. So I actually really liked the opening.
What? Oh my God.
I mean, this is assuming that I'm putting aside the voice cloning technology.
Yeah, we don't have to talk about that ever again. Let's pretend it never existed.
If we include it in the opening, it's a bad opening. But I thought the idea, in a vacuum, I guess, the idea of using a voice cloning to lure someone to the place and then you try to kill the original person, but then you make the original person think it's the person they could trust. I thought that was all actually really interesting and really good. But it's still, it's not as good as the first 2 openings though.
Yeah.
I agree.
I agree with that. What do you think, Avery?
Well, okay. So I think that sets such a good like tone for the movie. Like the third one I do remember seeing for the first time. Like I do remember watching that and being so bamboozled, like, oh my God, oh, he's coming back to the house, and feeling very like excited about that scene. But then I think the rest of the movie is why the opener loses its like luster. Like it's just the fact that they do what the opener is throughout the whole movie again. Like they just keep luring people places with the voice.
Yeah, it's like that's all.
The first one's punchy. Like, I do love the opener. I think it is good, aside from like the rest of the film as a whole.
Totally. Like it's its own thing. I think it's better than the rest of the movie. Like I think I like the franticness, and like I love him driving like a fucking psychopath in LA. And he's just like fucking like it's so fucking funny. And then like on top of it, I can tell, I'm like, I hope this was added for comedy because it's fucking made me cackle. But it's like he's like calling 911. They're like, we're sorry, we've got
it's busy.
I'm like,
busy.
Ever gotten that response? Like, what is like maybe in Detroit, but
and it's just so casual. He's like, well, shit, and just keeps driving. I'm like, I would be a little freaked out.
I'd
be
like,
drive
to the fucking police station and go, come with me, dude. And also, like, I mean, your girlfriend's probably already dead. Like, she's in the shower. The killer's at the house. I mean, I think we can just say she's a goner.
This is not Cotton's first like rodeo, you know. Like,
but also, like, yeah, Cotton, come on.
So I have 2 things to say about Cotton. One, it was weird to me how engaged he was in what was happening. Because in the last movie, he was totally just not aware of anything that was going on.
He was kind of like a fuckboy. He's so nonchalant. He's like, okay, guys, whatever.
You're dead. This will be a good story.
It'll make a great movie at the end after all these dead bodies are everywhere. Wonderful, you fucking freak.
Until it comes into his own house.
Yeah, with his, but that's the thing. It's like his TV show too, like 100% cotton.
100% cotton.
Kind of love that.
Loved it.
So good.
The best thing I've ever heard.
And the only clip that we see of it at the house is about road rage and like those insane drivers. And I just think that's really funny because that's like, I know they're just trying to be meta probably, but it's like, it got me.
I was like 100% cotton. This is the story of every person who's ever gone on a reality show and then started a podcast.
Like literally.
Like this is perfect.
I think another fun thing with this movie, I mean, just because like I don't know how popular he was back then, but I mean, I don't know, like Liev Schreiber hadn't done Ray Donovan yet, but
he was not Ray.
But I think there's like a lot of cameos in this movie that are just like it's way more almost. I mean, I know a lot of them start off or have certain people in them, or have good casts, but I'm like, it's so weird that there's like a random Carrie Fisher cameo just like in the middle of the movie.
Yeah.
Like really weird, right?
Lots of random
like
extras.
Jay and Silent Bob.
That was so weird seeing Jay and Silent Bob.
No, it's Connie fucking Chung.
David Schwimmer gets a name drop.
Yeah, because of the cast. I kind of wish we could have seen. I want to see the Stab movies now, even more so. Every time I learn something about them.
I
was gonna say, I don't know if there will ever be a better, just like cameo than the second movie of seeing like Luke Wilson being Billy in the movie.
Yeah. So good.
This is the greatest thing I've ever seen.
Like,
There's so many
ridiculous.
just people.
But he's literally quoting him like word for word, which is amazing.
I couldn't imagine casting for these movies. Like you're like, okay, we got to cast the people, and then we have to cast the people playing the people that are playing the already re-recorded movie. Like,
yeah, I agree. The one benefit I'll give the killer in this movie is that I thought he was pretty prepared. Like I felt like he was pretty like smart with like doing like the metal detectors and like obviously he had this crazy technology, right? I mean, he's clearly smart. But my one thing is that like, so when Sidney gets to the house and he makes her use the metal detector all over her, and like that's how he finds the one gun on her ankle. And then secretly she has another gun on the other side of her same ankle, but he doesn't know because the metal detector only beeps once.
Mm-hmm.
All I could think about was the movie Hateful Eight when Sam Jackson, they're like talking to the dude in the basement. He's like, all right, now throw up your other pistol. And he's like, I don't have another pistol. And he goes, well, you better shit out another pistol. I'm going to shoot this bitch in the fucking head. And then he just throws up his second gun. And then he's like, I told you. And I'm like, that's what he should have fucking done. Well, you better shit out another fucking gun, bitch. I'm going to shoot Dewey right in the face.
Oh god.
Like, that would have made the movie for me.
Yeah. That would have been like really epic. And then it would have been like, man, Sam Jackson really stole that from Scream 3.
Oh, well, that seems like a good place to end it.
Yeah.
I mean, overall, outside of the voice cloning thing, this is a fun movie. The voice cloning thing just very outdated and not realistic at all. Which the first two movies are extremely like realistic, but like, yeah, this is a fun movie. It's only bad compared to the other ones, I'm assuming.
But you couldn't skip it though, right?
Yeah.
Like you would never be able to watch. You'll watch 4 and maybe you'll feel different.
So maybe that'll be the case. My thought watching this movie, I was like, this movie feels like it could be any movie in the order outside of the first, because it only references the first. It doesn't reference the second movie at all.
The only line is that they say that like Stab fans are pissed off that they killed Randy in Stab 2, which is funny because like all the real fans, like Wes Craven, got hate mail every day saying like, why the fuck did you kill Randy?
Yeah.
And they're like, we had to have some stakes, man.
All right, well, that'll do it for this week's Road to Scream. Avery, thank you for joining us. And we will see you all next week when we talk about Scream 4, where Kevin Williamson is back. He's back, baby.
Yes, he is, in all of his glory. He's back.
Don't forget to like and subscribe. We out here.